good was Jimmy Butler? Trust me, in the next 30 years, you're gonna have your grandkids asking you that. Jimmy Butler has come a long way from a common country boy to one of the biggest names in NBA today. Lethal with the ball, strong off the ball, Butler has become a freaking force of nature. He is one of the most cynically underrated players in the game, and that just makes his fuel hotter. Well, considering the fact he isn't one of the most heavily decorated players in the game today, that's if you don't consider being in the second All-NBA lineup 5 times a big thing. Is Jimmy's game actually weighty enough to make him him? I'm him! Oh, sorry, that's Reeves. Well, this is Jimmy Butler. Born in the Tomball area of Houston, Jimmy Butler had the most unstable childhood. His father left his mom when he was just an infant, and by the time he was 13, his mom kicked him out of the house because he quote-unquote didn't like the look of him. Butler attended Tomball High, and like most American boys of his time, he played football and basketball. However, after his freshman year, he fully stuck to basketball because he preferred playing in an air-conditioned room rather than the outside under the sun. Jimmy didn't have a comfortable junior season. He was barely picked and sometimes even played center. He averaged 10 points per game that year. But as they say, if you can play, the game will find you. During his senior year, he completely turned up, averaging 19.9 points and 8.7 rebounds per game. And he also got voted as the most valuable player of the team, which he captained. Just before his senior year, he went for a summer basketball program, where he met a freshman, Jordan Leslie, who challenged Jimmy to a 3-point shooting contest. Now I can't tell you who won the shootout, but I can say for sure that the pair became as close as brothers. So close in fact that Butler started staying at his place, and after a while, even his parents accepted Jimmy as one of their own, even with the 6 other kids they had to fend for. Regardless of his amazing senior year, Jimmy didn't attract high college recruiters. He received a scholarship from Tyler Junior College and decided to play for their side even though it was 3.5 hours away from his home side. According to Butler, as long as he could go to school for free and play basketball, he was good. Jimmy carried on his senior year form during his freshman year at college. Averaging about 18.1 points, 7.7 rebounds, and a 3.1 that season, he became a gem in the eyes of several Division I colleges, even with his status as a 2-star recruit. During that time, he caught the eyes of Buzz Williams, who was then the assistant coach of Marquette University, and he called Jimmy in for a place on his basketball team. Jimmy didn't even hesitate as he sent in his letter of intent that same day. Being under the mentorship of Buzz broke new grounds for Jimmy, but at the same time was extremely strenuous. Buzz pushed Jimmy to the farthest extent to improve his game, but at the same time, he was really homesick. However, Jimmy still grew lethal. Even though he had a very slow start at Marquette, he averaged 5.6 points and 3.9 rebounds per game in his sophomore year. In his junior year, he filled in the spot left open by Wesley Matthews, who had just been recruited into the NBA. The Marquette team was his to lead, and he did it in style. Ending that season with an average of 14.7 points and 6.4 rebounds per game. He earned an All-Big East Honorable Mentions honors and did a repeat on that award in his senior year, but this time with a wicked 15.7 points per game. After bagging his degree in communication, it was time for Butler to chase his oldest dream, to play in the NBA. He entered the 2011 NBA drafts and was selected 30th by the Chicago Bulls. Just like at Marquette, Jimmy had a sloppy start with the Bulls, averaging only 2.6 points and 8.5 minutes played per game in his rookie season in 2011 and 12. He had a lot of big talents around him like Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, so it was all about making a name for himself there. He spent his whole offseason working on his game, pointing out his flaws and turning them into advances. And by the 2014-14 season, when he first got selected into the all-defensive second team, his stats had rose up to 13.1 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 38.7 minutes per game. In 2015, he made his first All-Star appearance, and that same year, bagged the Most Improved Player award for his immense growth in the game. And yeah, did I miss it? He also bagged the name Jimmy G Buckets. Well, as they say, it's never always a bed of roses, and trouble started to develop in the Bulls locker room, with factions being formed amongst the players. In 2017, Jimmy Butler to the Minnesota Timberwolves. He had an amazing first season with the Wolves, averaging 22.2 points per game in his first year, including his single-handed demolishment of the Bulls on his return to the United Arena, landing 38 points, 7 rebounds, he made his former side regret their decisions. Unfortunately, 3 weeks later, Jimmy had a terrible knee injury that saw him sidelined for a long time. And after multiple complications with his team, Jimmy was once again traded, this time to Philadelphia. During his one-season spell with the 76ers, Jimmy Bucks led his side to their enticing 51-win record, with an average of 18.7 points and 5.3 rebounds that year. He led his side to the playoffs, but got defeated by the Raptors. The next year, he moved to Miami to play with the Heat, and that was where he's been making magic for 4 seasons running. Now let's go back to where we spoke about the playoffs. Jimmy Butler isn't one of the most extravagant players you'll see during the main season. But when it's playoff time, it's literally Jimmy time. In the last 2 seasons, he has averaged 22 points per game during the main season, and magically upgraded to 29 points per game during the playoffs. And he always does it with style. Take a look at his 2020 40-point triple-double against the Lakers, where he dismantled LeBron and his friends with 40 game points, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists. His second triple-double against the same Lakers side in Game 5, with 35 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists. And his latest monster, 42 points that had the Bucks kicked out. Jimmy just seems to turn up during the postseason, and that might be his greatest strength. He is a complete definition of a big game player, and knows how to own the court when it matters. Most times, it's moments like these that bring about tension within the players. But in an alternative realm, Jimmy uses this as his time to shine, bringing out all the tricks in the bag. His one-of-a-kind jump stop pauses, tricky runs, insane positioning, and of course, his shooting. He has had an average of 5% increase every postseason on his shooting, and it is visible when he goes full Jimmy buckets. He is also the master of chipping into little spaces and finding exploitable creases to his favor. Butler has a very strange routine where he drives into the corner rather than avoiding it, causing a 1v1 situation with a defender, which gives him the opportunity to use his 6'7" height and 230 pounds of body weight to his advantage. Jimmy's vision is also extremely outrageous, and sometimes plays like he has eyes at the back of his head. Butler isn't the fastest player, doesn't have the fanciest moves, and isn't always a great shooter. But the confidence he brings into these moments and his ability to read the game gives him the Midas touch when it matters. Considering how long his journey to this point has been, and how well he has come to blossom, I guess you've got your answer on how good Jimmy freaking Butler is.